What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning into my channel, Jace's Own World. I really appreciate it. I hope everything is going well with all of y'all and that life is good in whatever you guys are doing. Work, school, family, personal time, all that stuff. It's very important to balance everything in your life. But before I get on a tangent like I always do, let's get right to the umph of this video. And what this video is going to be addressing is the bucking / hesitation that I've been having with my car for the longest time. It's been happening for well over a year, and I've tried many things to solve the issue. What I have tried so far is replacing all of my ignition coils and my spark plugs. I've cleaned out all of my throttle pipes from the turbo and the throttle body, including the front mount intercooler that I have on there. Those have all been cleaned. I've cleaned my throttle body out. I've taken off my valve cover and resealed the valve cover gasket on there. I have done a carbon cleaning on there. What else have I done? I've checked all the wire connectors to make sure that they're processing good ohms, which they are. I've checked for boost leaks and vacuum leaks. So I've done a whole bunch of stuff to figure out this issue. Recently, this past weekend, I have done a couple things. I deleted my secondary air injection system and put a block-off plate on there from Precision Raceworks. And I also replaced all of my fuel injectors because my car was also misfiring, and my car has been misfiring for the last 4 to 5 months now. So the bucking issue started way before the misfiring started happening, but the misfiring started happening like 4 to 5 months ago, and nothing I did to it fixed it. So what I decided to do is replace all of my fuel injectors because I had an idea that my vehicle's injectors were either clogged up with a bunch of carbon or they were leaking. And then at the same time, I had an idea that I possibly could have been having a vacuum leak at the secondary air injection area where the combi valve meets to the block. But I was never able to see anything in there because it's kind of hard to see and all that stuff. So I did all those, and doing both of those, I also cleaned out my air filter because it was super dirty. So you will see all of that stuff, and I'll explain it a little more in my next video after this one. But I did all of that stuff, and that has definitely fixed the misfiring on my car. So I am concluding that between the secondary air injection combi valve, which looked like it could have possibly been leaking because it was a little, it looked like it was leaking. Between that and the fuel injectors, injector 4 was leaking, it looked like. So between all that stuff, that definitely fixed the misfire. So I was like, sweet, I think I got it all fixed. And I went for a drive. It pulls really good, awesome. I mean, there's zero misfire. It is amazing. And the car was not bucking or hesitating on light throttle, light RPM. Usually happens when I'm like very low RPM, like 2250 RPMs or below. It wasn't doing it. But then a couple days later, it started bucking again. And so I was just like, what can it be? What can it be? So what I decided to do is run my codes. Obviously, run codes, right? And so I pull up my codes, and of course, I see secondary air injection codes because of the block-off plate on there. It's gonna throw those codes unless those codes are tuned out from your tuner. I will be having them tuned out from my tuner when I get tuned for meth, but until then, I'm not gonna contact my tuner to tune them out because it makes no sense for him to go to my car twice for basically this almost the same thing. So I checked my codes, secondary air injection codes were popping up, and then there was an O2 sensor code, and I will plug that picture in right here. And as you can see, there is an O2 sensor code for bank 1, sensor 1. And so I wanted to dig into that further as why this O2 sensor code is popping up. So I researched O2 sensors, if they could cause a bucking on your car, and 100% yes, an O2 sensor, if it is not getting the correct voltage, which means if the correct voltage is not happening, you're not getting the correct AFRs on your car. So that can definitely cause a bucking, a hesitation, everything like that with your vehicle, among a lot of other things that can go wrong on your vehicle. So what I want to do right now is show you some graphs of the O2 sensor, Bank 1 Sensor 1, as well as my Bank 1 Sensor 2 sensor. Now, my Bank 1 Sensor 2 sensor, that one is always going to be after the cat. But my car is catless, okay? So my Bank 1 Sensor 2 O2 sensor is not going to read the same for those of you who are running catted downpipes, okay? Your sensor 2, which is after the catalytic converter, is going to show AFRs too, but it's going to show more of a straight graph. But because my car does not have a catalytic converter, my Bank 1 Sensor 1 graph should show exactly the same as my Bank 1 Sensor 2 graph for my O2 sensors, because there's no obstruction, there's no catalytic converter. It's just a pipe straight through. So all the AFRs should show exactly the same on the graphs. So let's go ahead and check out the graphs that I pulled up on my scan tool. All right, I'm in the car, and when you're doing this test, guys, you want your car idling. As you can see, my car is on and idling, all right? And you also want your oil temperature and your coolant temperature to be warm. You don't want it to be cold. If it's cold, then your AFRs, which is this guy right here, this is aftermarket, so yours most likely isn't going to show this, but your AFRs will not be right on the graph when you're checking your little scan tool if your car is not completely warmed up. So get your car warmed up, have it idling, hook up your little scanner. Here's my scanner. And then what you're going to want to do is go to live data. All right. And in the live data, you're going to want to find your O2 sensor data points. This one is the O2 B1S2, which means O2 Bank 1 Sensor 2, which is the downstream O2 sensor, which is also known as the sensor after the catalytic converter. All right. As you can see here, it's in volts, 0.135, and it's a little fluctuating, but it's pretty steady right there. What you want to do with mine, press enter, okay, and it will pop up the graph. If you can see this graph right here, you see it's going up and down through the whole spectrum of the volts between 0.135 and 0.140. That is a perfectly working O2 sensor right there, because what it's doing is it's fluctuating between the voltage, which then fluctuates the AFR range, whether your car is going to be running rich or lean. All right, so that's a good looking graph right there. That's what you want to see. Now if I exit out of this and I go down to you want to find your O2 sensor for your sensor 1 Bank 1, which is this one, O2S11, O2 sensor Bank 1 Sensor 1. This one's showing milliamps, but as you can see, this one's showing negative 0.0988274, but it's negative, guys. That's not good, because this should be the same as my O2 sensor Bank 1 Sensor 2, because I don't have a catalytic converter. All right, so I'm going to get on the graph on this one, and then as you can see, this graph does not look the same. It's kind of inconsistent, up and down, but it's not going up, down, up, down, up, down in the full range like it should be. All right, so this is not looking like a really good graph at all for this O2 sensor, which makes me believe that this O2 sensor, either the signal or the sensor itself, is bad, okay, because it's not optimizing the correct air to fuel ratio for my car right now. It's just kind of sporadic and all over the place. So when I checked that out, I was like, something's going wonky with my O2 sensor, and I wanted to do a test to see what was going on, because if I'm getting an O2 sensor code, then something has to be going on. And according to that graph, right, it doesn't look like my Bank 1 Sensor 1 O2 sensor is working correctly. So I decided to go for a drive and have my O2 sensor continue to be, let me open my hood, plugged in. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to drive my car to get it to where it was bucking again. And so I did exactly that. I went for a drive and I tried everything I could do to get it bucking while my O2 sensor was still plugged in. And I got the car to buck, all right? So I was like, all right, cool, the car's bucking. That's a good sign for the test that I want to do. And so what test I'm trying to, remedy right now is when the car bucks, I'm going to pull over and unplug my O2 sensor, okay? So let me go ahead and unplug that for you. All right, guys, so my car is running, so sorry if it's a little loud, but this sensor right here, very easy. You could just, this is the O2 sensor. It goes directly to your turbo. That's the Bank 1 Sensor 1 O2 sensor, all right? So you just follow the wiring around, and yeah, this one right here, and it comes to this connector. What I did is I disconnected this sensor. I just disconnected this sensor, okay? I'm gonna put it right here so it's secure. Put this one right here to the side so it doesn't get stuck in anything. So that's disconnected, all right? So what I should see on the graph now for that O2 sensor, Bank 1 Sensor 1, is this. Yep, because it's not connected, it's not gonna show any voltage, all right? So O2 sensor 1, O2 sensor, Bank 1 Sensor 1, okay? It's not showing any milliamps anymore because it's disconnected. So I know that the connector is actually working, but now I go to the graph and it's showing that, which it should. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. And what I did all this previous to this video, so I'm just showing you the procedure that I did. But what I did is I left that connector to the O2 sensor, Bank 1 Sensor 1, disconnected, okay? And I went for a drive. Now, when you do this, do not full throttle your car because your AFRs are not going to be working properly and you do not want to detonate your engine, okay? O2 sensors are very important to the air to fuel ratio because it sends that signal to your ECU and then your ECU optimizes everything else, all right? Sends more fuel or air, whatever needed, okay? According to what the O2 sensor is reading. So do not full throttle your car, just drive it gently, and that's exactly what I did. And I've been driving for the last hour and a half to 2 hours and the car has not bucked once. So it went from bucking to me pulling over, disconnecting the O2 sensor, and then driving exactly the same as I have been for the next hour and a half to 2 hours, and the car has not bucked at all. Guys, I think that I have found the issue to the bucking that I've been having this entire time for the last year and a half. I seriously think I have figured out the issue. It possibly could have been an O2 sensor failing, starting to fail, failed already. I don't know if it failed already a year and a half ago, or if it was just starting to fail. But I think I have found the issue of the bucking and the hesitation that I've been getting on low RPMs with a steady throttle the entire time. Hallelujah. So now it's like, okay, did I really need to replace my fuel injectors and delete my secondary air injection system? And the answer for my situation is most likely yes, because my combi valve to my secondary air injection system was leaking, or it looked like it was leaking. It definitely looked like it from what it looked around the block area where it was mounted up to the block. It looked like it was leaking. and I was having misfires. So for my situation, I needed to not only fix the bucking, which seems to be related to my O2 sensor, but I also needed to fix the misfires that I had, okay? I am predicting here, okay, that my O2 sensor was starting to fail, or failed a long time ago, year and a half ago. And because my O2 sensor failed, it started creating a rich issue with my car, because I was not getting misfires with my car a year and a half ago. I just wasn't. The car was running perfectly fine, but it was having this bucking issue. But because my O2 sensor was failing at that time, my car was starting to run rich, okay? And because it started running rich, my valves were getting a ton of carbon built up on them. And then at the same time, my fuel injectors were just getting carboned up like crazy. And maybe one of them was getting clogged up, but it's hard to say because a clogged up fuel injector usually causes lean issues. And who knows, I could have been having lean and rich issues with my car this entire time. But what I'm saying is, I think the O2 sensor failing a year and a half ago and starting to do that, and me driving it still this entire time, I think that has basically been a trickling effect for other failures on my car, meaning secondary air injection combi valve, possibly, I don't know, maybe, but definitely fuel injectors, okay? My fuel injectors probably could have failed more or worn out more because of my O2 sensor failing beforehand. So I think I got this issue figured out, and I'm glad that code popped up for the O2 sensor, because if that code never popped up, I never would have expected to check the O2 sensors, okay? I'm glad I did a little bit of research online to see what the graphs are supposed to look like for O2 sensors. And it's just a simple YouTube video, some simple Google searching, and you can find so many things to figure out on your car. It's unfortunate that it's taken me this long to figure it out, but I was not getting an O2 sensor code. All this time the bucking was happening. The only code I had was a secondary air injection. And so I probably should have done that a long time ago, but I was not getting an O2 sensor code. So there was no way that I would have known that the O2 sensor would have been my issue the whole time. But now it is, and I think I figured it out. So it's just basically me purchasing a new O2 sensor for my Bank One Sensor 1, $150, 200 maybe, or less if I can find a deal somewhere. It's still a lot of money to me, but it's an easy fix, which is nice because it's right there sitting right on top of the turbo. So I just wanted to make this video for those of you who have been having a bucking or hesitation issue, not only on GTIs, not only on Volkswagens or Audis, but any car, okay? Any car, if you're having this bucking or hesitation and it's similar to mine, low RPMs, steady, light throttle, nothing was happening on like any kind, like a bunch of throttle. So it's not that issue, but low RPMs, steady, light throttle, usually cruise control was triggering it. If you're having a bucking or hesitation on your car, check your O2 sensors, check out the graph, get a scanner tool. They're like 30 bucks on Amazon. All right, you can get a cheap one. You can get an expensive one, you can get a cheap one. Most of them do the same exact thing. Most of them have graphs. But go ahead and check your O2 sensors and see what the graphs are looking like. If you don't know what graphs look like, go on YouTube. In the search bar, just put in O2 sensor graph, and you'll see a whole bunch of videos on that. So I'm going to conclude this video right here and say that I fixed the issue. Now, if the bucking comes back, I'm just gonna keep driving the car with the sensor off, okay? And I'm just gonna keep driving it for a couple of days or whatever. If the bucking comes back, then I'll let you guys know, okay? But I think I found the issue. But yeah, I'm just so excited. This has been a long time waiting. And yeah, so that's the end of this video. On my next video, I'm gonna be describing what I did with the fuel injectors and the secondary air injection and the tuning that I sent to my tuner. So stay tuned for that one. But until then, yes, I'm excited. Now we can finally get this car going. The car is super strong. it's fast, it's awesome. So yes, I'm super excited. But once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning into my video. Hopefully I'm not just rambling on, and I'm actually helping some of you out there, which seems to be the case with a bunch of my videos. So which is why I like making these videos, because I can help so many of you out just from the problems that I'm having with my car, which is awesome. We're all here to help each other out, right? So we're a car community. We're here to help each other out, and that's what's great about it. But I'm going to conclude it here. Thank you once again for tuning into my channel, for all the likes, all the dislikes, all the comments, all the support, all the subscribers. Thank you. Please hit that notification bell and the subscribe button and the like button, please. I appreciate that. We're getting on the verge to 500 subscribers now, which is pretty awesome. And I should be making more videos, but unfortunately I haven't been because of this issue. So if this issue is fixed, then we're gonna get going. We're gonna get going with more videos, guys. But thank you once again. I appreciate all of you guys and your support. And until the next video, peace.